Hello, everyone. This is Cynics, and I know it's been a while, but I'm back for that oh so important holiday. So hopefully you're not too worn out from smashing pumpkins because it is November 1st, International? Let's just call it Self Portrait Day. So I've done this. This will be 3 years in a row, and I don't want to break that streak. It's just a great holiday and a great excuse to get your butt in gear and start doing some art. So hopefully this will get my butt in gear and get me back to making videos as well, because I've been missing those. And I'm sure some of you have been missing them as well. Anyway, I don't have any great stories to tell you. This line work sketch I'm doing here is taking way longer than normal because, well, quite frankly, I'm just rusty. My muscle memory is terrible. My placement of everything is just kind of really haphazard and messy. But the great thing about being an artist is even if your muscles go and your control over your body is just failing you, um, you always have your observations. And that's really all you need to be a good artist is observation. So even if whatever my hand fell off and I had to start drawing with my left hand, I would still be able to do art because I can observe things and improve them. So if a line doesn't look good or the placement of a ear doesn't look right, then I can recognize that and fix it. So I just want to kind of, you know, hammer that home that being an artist is just about observation. So that means a very important thing to do to become a better artist is to give critiques to everything. Just look at art, go on DeviantArt, go on wherever, go on concept art, and look at art and try to figure out how something could be better, what might be making it look weird, anything that might be a useful critique and try to really understand why something is the way it is. And I'm just talking all about this and not my drawing here. But as you can see, I just did my little sketch and it came out all right after a lot of moving lines around. And, you don't have to be afraid to just copy something. I'm sorry, more like, what's the right word? Select something, not copy it. Select something and move a line around if it doesn't feel like it's in the right spot. You can resize something if it doesn't feel like it's the right size. There's no sanctity in the line work itself. You don't have to worry about using other means to change your line work. Just, get it to look right. That's all that matters. Any method that you can use to your advantage. Sorry, I'm being all rambly. Apparently, I'm rusty on talking too, since I haven't made a video in so long. And I guess I should mention that because this is a self-portrait video, so it's a good time to examine yourself and your habits and everything about you. So I guess you're wondering where I've been. Nowhere special is the answer. I just kind of fell out of rhythm, and that's something that happens to me a lot, apparently, because it's happened a few times. But I'm a very rhythm-based person. I get in habits of doing certain things, and it's hard to break out of those habits. Sometimes those are good habits, like drawing and making videos. Those are good habits, and I had them going for a while, but sometimes you fall out of them because of certain circumstances. Earlier in this year, I had a really bad case of pneumonia, and that just kind of put me in bed for about an entire month. And that pretty much killed my video production and my art production. And it's been really hard getting back to feeling comfortable with putting out a video or making decent art. I don't know. There's something about those long pauses that just kind of throw you off. But the only way to get over it is just to really kick yourself in the butt and just start doing it again, which took me way too long. But luckily, Self Portrait Day is probably the greatest day to just kick yourself in the butt. So if you haven't drawn for a while, maybe you've been slacking as well, doing other stuff, and you're watching this video, just, make sure to do your self portrait. It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to spend a bunch of hours on it. You can just do a quick 10-minute sketch, a 1 minute sketch if you must, but just get out there and draw something. So talking about this art for a little bit, you can see I did the basic approach that I've been using before, which is to do a sketch, then do an underpainting under the line work, and right now I'm switching over to doing a overpainting layer, which is where I really paint over the line art and get rid of all that line work. Just make things look really nice and rendered. So I'm spending a lot more time on this rendering than I think I did on the last ones. And that's because I was trying to focus on a few important kind of factors. And I had looked at my previous self portraits, and it's always good to look back at your art. And I tried to figure out what things would I like to improve, in my art. So I thought, okay, number one, the background is just nonsensical. It doesn't really do anything in the last two. So I wanted to at least have some slight environment that we're in so it doesn't just feel like it's, a flat green or brown color that's really boring. So that was number one. And number two was I didn't want to rely on a strong lighting source. And that's really been a troublesome thing in probably all my portraits. Anytime I'm drawing people, it's very tough to draw a person without a strong light source. Something that's giving a shadow, say, under the chin, so you can just really carve out those dark lines. But if you have a really neutral light source that's just kind of lighting everything evenly, then you can't rely on using, harsh lines to carve out your forms and your features. You can't just use, dark shadows to show where the nose is and show where the curves of everything are. You actually have to use more subtlety and, your colors and just all this kind of really, just subtle stuff, which I usually just hate because I don't want to be subtle. I want to get in there and make strong brushstrokes and just do it as fast as I can, as loose as I can, very impressionistic, and it's a lot speedier. Speedier? Yeah, it's a lot faster. Maybe that's a better word. When you have a strong light source, because you can just focus on those basic forms in really dark and light. But with this one, say for instance, I can't really draw a dark shadow under the chin. I can't show it that way, so I have to just, rely on just a subtle kind of value change. Although I'll be honest, I still kind of did a slightly dark line, which is inaccurate. That's not how it would be in real life. You wouldn't have that line around the jaw. But yeah, I'm too scared. I can't just jump in all the way to this, really indirect light source. I gotta dip my toe into the water first and feel it out. But a lot of things like around the nose and the eye and everything, it's tough. It's tough to do those without relying on line work. And it's good exercise to kind of push yourself away from those comfort zones because it's very easy to just rely on strong light sources and getting lines in and just, kind of keeping it really cell shaded or simple. But say for something like this with no direct light source, casting shadows, like you wouldn't be able to do a cell shaded kind of simple two shade tone because everything's basically flat in the same value. So you really have to be subtle. You have to think about your different values, I'm sorry, warmth values, let's say, in the skin tones. So for instance, I tried to bring in a lot of reds and purples around the eyes and the more desaturated tones around the outside and the jaw and some warmth again in the cheeks. Anywhere there's like a bit of fleshiness, you can bring in that warmth and really just try to think about that stuff and exaggerate it a little. Because I was looking at pictures, I was looking at myself in the mirror, and I tried to see where I could get away with adding a lot of color. So if something looks slightly greenish, in your skin tone, just go all out and add a lot of green to that. Or if something looks a little red around your eye, I would just add a lot of red. It helps you to learn the different temperatures of the skin. So I recommend playing with as many colors as possible when you're doing skin tones. And I think I've mentioned that a lot in the whole, painting faces series. But anyway, I don't know if you guys have figured out what exactly is going on in this painting, but I'll clue you in a little bit. Now, it might be becoming more obvious. You might be thinking that this is just a, you know, picture, portrait, whatever, of me, and there's a sky in the background and a couple leaves blowing around like it's wind. But no, actually, I thought a more interesting idea would be to have the portrait kind of lying in water or floating. I don't know, slightly just kind of hovering in this limbo of water. Sorry. And so that's what I'm going to go for. And this also gives me another opportunity, which I'm always looking for opportunities to learn new things. So the opportunity I had here was to learn more about showing stuff like it's in water or submerged in water or floating on water. So I took some time. I went out. I got some water. I dropped a leaf in the water. I looked at it. I studied it, and I noticed a few little things that I think helped me out a lot here. So the first thing was usually just anything that's resting on water or breaking the plane of water, you have like a dark value that just goes around that edge. So think of like a slightly darkened value going around the edge of that object. Let's say the leaf, for example. So I did like a quick little darkened spot. And then I came in with a little highlight, just a light part, and just a thinner line inside that darkened kind of stroke on the outside. That darkened outer stroke with a little thin line on the inner part. And I guess, with surface tension and everything, that's just how it looks when something's resting on the water or breaking the water. So that helped a lot to sell this as something that looks like it's floating in water. And also, let's see. Oh, yes, I also tested what my skin tones look like when I put them partially underwater. And you'll notice that things basically just get desaturated a lot. The warm tones, such as the reds and oranges, really get muted. So it's basically a desaturated, bluer look to everything. So I did that. And I think that's about it. I ran out of time. The video's even over. So I probably didn't mention anything important, but hopefully that worked out. And hopefully you guys all do self portraits because that's the important thing. November 1st, do your self portrait today. You can post it on conceptart.org. They'll have a thread for it. I'm sure they always do. And it should be a lot of fun. So take a good look at yourself today and hopefully you like what you see. You should. It's our weird little idiosyncrasies that make it all the more fun. And before anyone says anything about my crooked nose, yes, that is accurate. I made sure to get my crooked nose as crooked as it is in real life in my self portrait. Okay, I think that's it. I'll see you guys later. Hopefully, more videos to follow.